You're listening to a Meatsmith Harvest. This is the podcast that encourages and equips you to grow your home around the harvest. This Farmstead Meatsmith production is made possible by you. If you like it, please consider supporting our team by going to patreon.com/Meatsmith and donating at a level you'd enjoy giving at. Your gift helps us increase the quality and quantity of all our free media education. Thank you, and happy harvesting. Welcome, Meatsmiths, to another podcast episode of a Meatsmith Harvest. It's been a long time since we sat down together.
Yeah.
And chatted. Almost like a whole lifetime's gone by. So many things have happened.
We had a baby, right?
We had a baby.
Have we podcasted since the baby was had?
No.
Oh, okay.
We had a baby. It's a girl.
Yeah. She's pretty great.
Yeah. Her name is Thomasina Margaret Koryesu.
Yep.
Sheared.
It's wonderful.
She's 4.5 months now.
Wow. That's right. She's a little younger than our geese.
That's right. That's another thing that's happened.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like they're kind of coinciding.
Yeah.
The whole Geese project and
The Thomasina project.
The Thomasina project, yeah.
Yeah.
The other major thing that's happened to us, which I think will segue into my question about what you did this morning, is we got a tractor.
Yeah. I guess we haven't mentioned that, huh?
It's been a big development for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was incredible.
You want to tell us about that?
It's
life changer?
Yeah, it just kind of happened. I've wanted one for a while, but it's always been outside of the realm of possibility, I guess. But only because for lack of investigation, not really for actual physical impossibility.
Yes.
They're very acquirable.
Yeah.
Especially
that's the least problem.
Yeah, right. They
can't
wait to give you tractors.
Kind of like free animals.
In exchange for money. Yes. Yeah. So they make it as easy as possible, you know? Yeah. 0 down, 0 interest for 8 years. Mm-hmm. And so we retired some other debt and said, gee, I think we could do this. And so we got a Kubota, naturally. The icon of small farms, in our region at least. There's many of them on Vashon. And it's a L3301. So you know what? It's a classic example of one of those things where I worked without the tool for so many years that the void in my productivity and the void shaped by the things that needed to get done on the farm was so well defined. Its edges were sharp and detailed. It was clear, so clear to me exactly what I needed. And it's exactly what we got, which is the benefit of going without a thing for a long time. And that's kind of how we built the whole business and everything. And it's tricky because we've been getting recently lots of requests to share how we built our truck, the construction of our slaughter truck and the shop. And what I want to tell people is, well, what you need to do is just start harvesting without them. Yeah. And then after about 2 years, you'll know exactly what they should be because each situation is unique. So it is difficult for me to give well, here's how you build a slaughter truck. It's like, well, what are the driveways like? What is the species you're going to harvest the most? I can give general outlines, which I will in a video. It's forthcoming. But all that to say, just going without really, really shapes the void that you need to fill. And so that happened with the tractor. I knew I needed one that was a little more substantial than what I had seen because I had the benefit of watching so many other farmers that I harvest for have under-powered tractors. It's very common. I know a farmer on Vashon who is about as big as his own tractor. He's a big, strong guy. And like if he arm wrestled his tractor, he might win. He's a big dude, very strong, and
is he kind of like that Simpsons character that like unfolds his accordion body out of the little tiny car?
Yeah, right.
Is that how he looks on the tractor?
A little bit. And he's super. He is a super hard worker, and he just makes things happen. He makes it work on the farm. But his tractor is undersized, and he's just one example of many that I've seen that the jobs that they're doing outstrip the capacity of the tractor. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want to fall into that. So that's why we got the 3301, which it looks like a tractor. It's got tall wheels and stuff. It doesn't look like a lawnmower at all.
Right. That's kind of the sheared style, though. I'd have to say your dad always overbuilt. Any structure, like you just assume you're going to want to take this thing further than you know now. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's a good rule of thumb. Because at the time of acquisition, like when I got my chainsaw or something, you might think it's overkill, but it's actually not.
Yeah.
Not at all. I use every inch of my 36-inch bar.
Well, and
I use,
I don't want to encourage people to always overbuy because you have to use prudence. Yeah. But when you go with your previous suggestion of go without for a couple years and then what you need, then be as generous with yourself as you need to be. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it really simplifies the tyranny of choice, of all the many options. It just sweeps all of that out of the way. And so I knew for us, at least, for a tractor to be useful at all, it would have to come simultaneously with attachments. Right. Otherwise, it's just a really cool loader, right. Which is a very small percentage of what I needed it to do. And so with ours, we got a chipper, which was absolutely essential, a box scraper, and a tiller, and loading forks. Mm-hmm. So I got exactly what I needed to know that I would use it like several times a week, that it would actually be put to use all the time. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, it is, and it's awesome. Mm-hmm. It really was, it's filled several voids I did not expect on the farm, several inefficiencies, specifically composting. I just would not have thought this, but we can compost like pros now. Yeah. Really easily. The big problem I've always had with composting is I've had all of the constituent elements to make great compost. I've got animal guts. I've got carbon everywhere. Like we live in sticks. We live in a forest. Mm-hmm. So I've got animal poo. I've always got all of those things. So I should be able to make great compost. But what I always lacked was thermal mass, was the mountain that you need to really get compost cooking, especially if you're going to put guts in it, especially if you're going to try to compost animal viscera, and you don't want it to be so cool that raccoons just climb right in and start dragging sheep intestines all over the place. Yeah. You need it to be cooking, and to get that, you need mass. And with a tractor, I can move mass quantities.
That's right.
In moments. It's so awesome. So literally the bedding, the deep bedding that I've had, which is hog fuel, which is like wood chips, but it's coarser. It's even chunkier. It's mostly like sticks and chunks of root. Yeah. So it's not necessarily ideal. It does need to break down quite a bit to become a valuable compost. But that's been in the pig palace, and I've just been adding to it for a couple years now. And we've kept the volume of pigs we've raised in there low, so that makes it more manageable. But it has just been a big exercise in piling and piling and piling. And I was able to scrape it all out and mount it in 1/8 of a day. Like it took seconds. And
I know. Like sorry, go ahead. You'll retire your day.
Yeah.
Like your day's over, and then you'll still squeeze in like another 12-minute project.
Yeah.
And It's so cool.
It's amazing. Like, the thing with tractor is you can do a job that would have taken you weeks, and it doesn't take any energy at all. You're not tired. You know that tired thing that happens when you're scooping out, compacted bedding of manure and wood chips? That thing? Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore. So immediately I had a mountain of this bedding, and it's like within a couple days it is cooking, it's steaming, it's cooking, it's so hot. Then I moved it like from one place to another. That's all I did, and aerated it, and it cooked even more, which really helps. And so within just half a season, like part of the summer, that stuff had completely become valuable compost. All of that stuff, just because I acquired this one tool that enabled me to amass mass quantities of carbon and poops, and spread it out over a field. And I planted a cover crop on it, and we're going to till it in the spring and plant sundry vegetables. So it is so awesome. And right now I'm stacking wood with it. That's right. Which is so much better than a wheelbarrow in the forest, in the middle of the forest, through the huckleberries and the unlevel ground. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, you paved a little road out to where the tree had fallen, because trees don't really fall in convenient places usually.
No, wind-fallen trees, Yeah, this one just went right down in the middle of the forest, which is nice because that's not right on our house or any fence lines. And it was a monster. It was over 100 feet. It's a big tree, big fir. And I'm still getting used to how having such a competent and efficient tool affects your psychology. I'm still getting used to that, because my proleptic imagination of what it is possible to do is still not up to what it is possible to do with my tractor. Like, I still have the habit of thinking of my back and my arms and a rake and a shovel.
You gotta change your frame of mind.
Yeah. And so I was kind of puzzling, how am I going to get in there to that wood? Oh, it's going to be a pain, and you have to hack through. I was like, wait, no. I can clear a roadbed like in 15 minutes. And I did, this big swath, and I can even smooth it out. I can make it smooth.
There's got to be people laughing at us right now, because it's like, duh, it's a tractor.
I know.
And it took us a decade to really get the bandwidth to be able to acquire it. But it's kind of like, a few years ago you had the realization that you're a butcher, and you were like, oh, you mean I could just buy, or I kind of need to, but like a sausage stuffer, like a legit one. And you're like, I've grown up a little bit. And it was so exciting, because now it was just an arrival moment. And that seems like what the tractor's been for us.
It is. It's a recognition that we live in the middle of a forest, that we raise lots of livestock, and that we heat our house with wood, all of which have been true. And that we live on dirt roads.
And that we raise animals.
And all of those things have been true for many, many, many years. It's just, the duties of our life have made our bootlegged methods of solving those problems too costly. They take too much time. So it is, in that sense, in the larger scale, it is a very ordered thing that has happened.
I mean, just not to put too fine a point on it, but you tend to be... your personality tends to be more on the neurotic side, more like when you're working intensely, your forehead's, kind of crunched and you're like in it, but I've actually seen you on that tractor
smiling,
break a little smile, a little smirk. Like a little bit of a,
it is a it's a tangible relief to move something with those hydraulics and not my back.
Yeah.
Like it is. I actually feel delight, like a dopamine hit in the brain of like, wow, I'm not doing that right now. This machine is. It's so good. So yeah, I'm eager to care for it, to keep it up, keep it looking good, and keep it greased especially.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you earned that feeling a little bit by not having it for a lot of time. I mean, I don't want to say you deserved it, but like it was more felt. You were more grateful for it, I guess.
Definitely.
Maybe that's what it was.
Well, it feels so much more qualified again because the Void was precisely the shape of this tractor, because so I can make wood chips. I can make deep bedding.
Yeah, that's big.
Which is huge.
It's a game changer for a homestead.
Specifically for the management of livestock, for the health of my animals. Like I say, we live in sticks. Like sticks is the ocean we swim in. And if I can turn those into smaller little chips and then layer them with animal poo, like I have suddenly hugely increased the amount of pigs that we can raise. And especially since I can move those mountains very quickly, it is, we can deride the global inefficiency of having a diesel guzzling tractor, but oh my goodness, for the efficiency of the 2.5 acres here, I just multiplied what I can do for my soil exponentially, like way orders of magnitude. It's not even funny. It's incredible. Yeah. Just by the sheer composting ability alone, managing the waste and the nutrient cycle that's on this property with that tool is now possible, more than it has ever been.
And we liked Kubota especially because my next thought was, well, we haven't fixed it yet. Like it hasn't broken. So we're not, you're at the point where you're just now having to re-grease it and sort of do the maintenance and care for it. But Kubota has a really great, like maintenance / repair kind of. Yeah.
They have good warranties, and we did buy the insurance.
That's right.
For it. Yeah. For the drivetrain.
And they come to the island regularly.
They do.
Is what I hear. So.
Yeah. But it's also different than a car. And this was new to me. I didn't realize this. There's this huge problem in the auto industry, I think. You buy a car and it's a complete mystery to you. This huge, extremely expensive machine. Yeah. You are, if like me, and many of you are not, you haven't put in the time to become mechanically adept with your automobiles, then that thing is just a humongous liability. It's so expensive, and it is, to me, the gaping maw of chaos. Like literally, if it breaks, I can figure stuff out, but also only to the point where I know I don't have the time or the tools or the desire to fix this on my own.
Right.
That's how I feel about cars. Yeah. Not so with at least Kubotas, and this might be with all tractors. What they do is they give you this little thing. It's called a manual.
Oh, right.
Can you believe we don't get manuals for our cars?
No, it's unbelievable.
You can pay $40,000 for a brand new car, not a single manual, nothing. And for the Kubota, my manual is a book, and it is wonderful. It's got a whole table of service intervals of things that I need to do at various hours, 50 hours, 100 hours, 200 hours, 300, 400. Exactly what I need to do with illustrations and like exactly the kind of grease to buy. I mean, everything is in there. It's so good. Exactly the maintenance. And so if anything goes wrong, it is absolutely operator error. It's my fault.
Right.
And I just don't think that's a thing. That's not a thing with automobiles. So buying a tractor is different than buying a car. In that way. Yeah.
We've also, you enjoy researching because you want to use something right if you're going to get it. You don't want it to break. No. And so you spent a good amount of time on YouTube as well,
Yeah.
I believe that channel is called Messick's.
Yeah. University of YouTube.
Yeah. Well, no, but that guy was really helpful.
Yeah, he assumed
I think, right?
that you are a complete moron, and then he spoke to that, which is wonderful for people like me. It's great.
Yeah.
Very basic, and yeah, he helped me understand load capacities, which also helped me understand which tractor to buy and which I couldn't buy. You know, calculating and understanding that to get a tractor that could, with forks, move a ton of pig feed from my truck, for example, was significantly out of our price range.
Oh, right.
But
yes.
also out of, it would be too big for our property. That's a very large machine. And as it is, I can just tuck my little Kubota into the pig palace right next to the pigs. I can keep it out of the rain.
Yeah.
And while I can't unload a 1 ton pallet, I mean, if I had enough ballast, honestly, I could probably like cowboy it, and which would be stupid, so I'm not going to do that. Yeah. But it's not necessarily rated for that, so I won't. Yeah. Instead, I can unload a 1 ton pallet in 2 or 3 trips, right? So it's like still infinitely faster than my back and the wheelbarrow.
Yeah. But Messick's.com, right? Or Messick's.
Yeah, he's just a dealer in the middle of the country, a Kubota dealer.
That's right.
That has wisely made a ton of videos on very basic tractor stuff.
Yeah, we could link to it in the show notes.
Yeah. But that was helpful for me to understand what capacity, the size of tractor I needed.
Yeah.
The hunt is up. How many people do you know you would say truly share your back to the land values, or your passion for home-scale craft meat curing, or simply love the multifaceted beauty of a good meal as obsessively as you do? Maybe a handful? At FarmsteadMeatsmith.com, we've created an online community of hundreds of omnivores from around the world, and a platform for them to learn from and inspire one another. In addition to our major semi-annual hands-on educational event, The Family Pig, here at our Pacific Northwest homestead, over at FarmsteadMeatsmith.com, we host a purely digital membership program with an archive of film and textual resources years deep now, for you to dive deeper into your food journey with. And both our classes and online program include access to our private community Facebook page for your continued education and fellowship. We've been told that our classes are life-changing and the membership program unparalleled in quality and quantity. To get a taste of our education, search FarmsteadMeatsmith.com and our YouTube channel for our free films, conversations, and downloads. Explore how we and other meatsmiths across the globe may best come alongside you, putting the knife in your hand, article by article, and comment thread by comment thread, and can support you in building your home around the harvest. Please head to FarmsteadMeatsmith.com today.
I thought so this is going to kind of be a little bit of a grab bag episode. We've got a number of different directions we could take the episode. But Andrew is on one of our members, and he has a question I thought maybe we could address.
Yeah.
Because he's mentioned this, I think, on the Facebook group and maybe on the forum, and so I think it would be good.
And we should say, if you are a Meatsmith member, you are participating live in these podcast recordings.
Yeah.
For those of you who just listen to the podcast on iTunes or through YouTube,
that's
the
right.
website, if you want to actually participate live, we do that through the Meatsmith membership.
Yep, and we can get your questions addressed.
Yeah.
Usually.
But Andrew has a
yeah, so we're going to talk about geese later. So this is actually a good poultry question, I think. Sorry to jump in late, but where on pecans do you find most of the fat? Is it mostly under the skin? I butchered 6 and had no fat at all on the gizzard, and basically none in the body cavity. They weren't raised by me.
Good question, and that is the result of age and feed. And so apart from knowing those, particularly it's age and feed. So where it would happen, I think, I have to balance what I've read with my experience because sometimes they're different. But where they will tend to, I know, for example, the last thing to fatten on a palmipede, on a webbed-footed goose or duck, is the last thing to fatten is the liver. So before that, you will get subcutaneous fat and internal body fat. And in my experience, I see a little bit of subcutaneous fat before I start to see the fat, lodged in and around the intestines. In fact, you'll notice if you ever harvest old laying hens, in the case of chickens, which I know are gallines or whatever, not palmipedes, but they really put on fat on the inside of their body cavity once they are mature. So that's like a 2-year-old bird, or a 1-year-old bird. Really, really lots of fat on the inside is where they might pack the excess. So if I were to rate it, I would say you first start getting fat subcutaneously, so just under the skin, and then you'll start to get the body cavity fat. And only if you teach the bird or gently coerce them into being gluttons will you fatten the liver. Or find one that is literally about to launch into a multi-100-mile migration. That bird might have a fat liver for the long flight, self-fattened. So yeah, that's the order I would say. And it's interesting. It's not like to fatten. I'm assuming you would like to fatten them because that's always what I like to do.
That's our assumption.
Get them as fat as possible. It's not a matter of merely feeding them carbs. So just feeding them corn, it's not going to fatten them. They're not just going to sit there and gorge on corn because they are only going to eat what they need. They are all birds are remarkably efficient. They don't they're not prone to excess. They're not going to say, I have a particular attachment to corn. I'm going to eat too much of it. You have to have concupiscence to do that. And birds don't. So you can have corn in front of them. They are only going to eat what will sustain them if there's nothing else. So they will not eat. So like a muscovy that is finished exclusively on corn will never even get close to being fat. Muscovies are given to leanness anyway, just by their metabolism. So all that to say, I have found that to increase the fat, oddly enough, you just want to have an abundance of all the things they need. I mean, that's what will do it. If you want a fatter bird, they need... Well, so this is what I do. I feed them a starter grower, which is higher protein than a layer. So it's a high protein thing. Now it would be a little too much to feed your meat birds on that, especially like geese if you're going to let them live for several months. That protein is a little high. It can lead to leg problems and overfast maturation. So I do like to balance it with another option that is separate from the starter grower bull, and that would be some form of carb, either a scratch or corn, scratch of like barley, wheat or something, and or corn. And that way they can kind of balance it out. But the point is, what they have is literally the most, the highest and most plentifully available nutrients that they require at all times. And given that's like the most passive way to fatten them. Okay. They'll just get nice and fat that way. Okay.
But really the best way is to intentionally fatten them.
Well, by intentionally, I mean you might actually have to put a tube down their throat.
Right.
And give them pre-measured. Yeah.
Right. If you're really trying to get that fat.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is... which I can say, I don't know if we've mentioned it on the podcast before. We probably talked about gavage.
And you didn't finish that video because it
Well, it's still in the making. That's the thing.
Oh, okay.
Some videos take 3 years to make.
All right.
Because I want to give the complete story.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You're still in it.
So I'm still in it.
Mm-hmm.
And livestock grow in such a way that you kind of need to harvest a few. The cycle takes a while.
Mm-hmm.
So
we've gone through one phase of the learning curve, we'll say, but you could still.
Yeah, the learning curve is the art of domestic gavage.
Yeah.
Which is, if you have a knee-jerk reaction, I totally understand to the possible cruelty of foie gras and gavage and fat and livers. It is a product not of the process itself, but of the industrialization thereof. And again, just like all these things, they didn't, or at least these traditional peasant domestic agrarian practices, they did not originate in the factory, in the Fordist assembly line. They originated in the backyard.
Right.
And so that is the native home of fattening poultry, particularly, I've got like a big old spooge on my collar. That's cool. Anyway, we spill our food around here. Particularly like the Jewish backyard in Europe. Fat is so essential to the kitchen that all, Central Western Europeans were raising pigs in their backyard, even the poorest. That was always the goal, and that's where all your fat came from. But that's obviously not an option for the Jewish community. Mm-hmm. So they were fattening geese very prolifically, and the Romans were before them. It's even Egyptians. We can see wall paintings of Egyptians fattening geese by feeding them little dough balls or figs. You can make little balls of dough, and they would just feed them by hand, one little ball of dough at a time, or figs. Figs commonly used to fatten pigs. So what am I talking about? Yeah.
Intentionally fattening poultry.
Yeah, that's what we wanted. I've always had the suspicion that because foie gras is so wonderful, and it is a product of peasants, not industrial food production, that perhaps it can be done benevolently. And I have been through a month of gavaging 2 ducks, and I can say it can. It's amazing. You can do it, especially since you like your ducks. You know your ducks. You're going to be sensitive to them. You're not trying to meet a quota. You just want foie gras for, Easter or for Christmas, because it is a very special treat, because it takes a lot of effort. It's like milking a cow. You go, in fact, on many ways, it's no different than milking a cow. We have selectively bred cows to produce more milk than their calves can consume. Ergo, you must milk them. You must get out there. Although they would get sick. And you have this twice a day meeting with your animal, and it's no different than gavaging a duck. You get out there, it has this amazing capacity to store fat in its liver. And it is a natural capacity. It's not forced. It's where they put fat so they don't have to land at truck stops on their migrations. They can just metabolize the fat in their liver and stay in flight. And it's, kind of lost my train of thought, but
that's okay.
Yeah, you can do it. And it says twice a day meeting. You go out there and you gavage your duck in the morning, and you do it in the evening. Yeah. And you can do it with geese too. I've heard it's a little harder, but again, I got to do it until I actually believe that. But I've done it with ducks and discovered that you can be gentle. Guess what? You can be patient. I mean, it's like, this is all up to you. And it looks weird to us because we have a gag reflex. We have a larynx. They don't. They don't have teeth. They don't chew stuff. They swallow it whole. That is their way. And I found that even though my ducks were relative to what is usually used for foie gras, they were small of body. And so usually foie gras is done on hybrids of a Muscovy and a Pekin. And those are large ducks. So my ducks were actually small, and still there was no damage done to their esophagus whatsoever. In Yeah. In fact, the only thing they really ever suffered, the only thing they suffered was psychological. And it's their flight response.
Oh, uh-huh.
So it wasn't even my handling. Once I grabbed them, they tend to calm down.
Mm-hmm.
And they never reacted adversely to the funnel, provided that I was very patient with it, which I was, very delicate, not forceful. It was only my proximity, walking into their little paddock, and they would flee, just like they all do. That's what mallard descent ducks do.
Yeah.
They immediately flee. Muscovies, on the other hand, don't.
Uh-huh.
Ergo, I am looking to eliminate that particular psychological problem that they have by attempting to gavage muscovies. That's my next project.
Okay.
So,
oh yeah, that's why we got those muscovies.
Yeah, and we home hatched them. The mama hatched 12 expertly.
That's right.
And so they're getting there. They're getting close, and it'll just be the drakes because they're very big. They're very large. They're twice the size of the females, just about. So
but
I'm going to gavage them.
The muscovies don't have that natural fat lining as much, right? That
That's
Andrew's
right.
talking about. But they might be able to fatten their liver.
They do.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's
so
why
they have been used in France for many, many years.
Okay.
Just purebred muscovies, not the hybrids. They still retain the ability to fatten their liver, even though they are non-migratory.
Right.
Which is interesting.
That's odd.
Yeah. They're non-migratory ducks. They stay in the tropics. No need to migrate in South America. So, but yeah, there are still actually active small foie gras farms in France that are purebred muscovies, which is something I learned from our Meatsmith members who found the website and translated it. And
they're kind of ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
They're way beyond us.
It's kind of awesome. So,
yeah, I know.
amazing resources.
They do cool stuff. Actually, let's segue then. I wanted to talk about membership a little bit to advertise for the membership.
Yeah.
Because I guess, the people that are on there are just awesome people, and they're doing way more than you and I can do.
Yeah.
And they're really breaking some new ground, Copernicus. Like the Muscovy thing. You know,
it's incredible. I mean, we do have some archives, particularly in the forums, that are like, it is the only place in the known universe where that knowledge is put together.
I know.
In one spot. And it's assembled by many Meatsmith members. It's pretty awesome.
We're just kind of hosting the structure, the infrastructure, but the people are what make it come alive.
And I know that because I've searched for those kind of things. Like fattening ducks is a big one.
Yeah.
Because there's literally no information about doing that on a domestic scale in your backyard. Does not exist except for the Meatsmith membership. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So that's singing the members' praises. I also want to sing your praises because you are also breaking new ground with the video production.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, we've got lights in here and everything now.
Yeah.
And
studio lighting.
But like as far as the content goes, like you were just telling me, like if you type in how to kill a goose on YouTube, es no bueno.
It doesn't.
It's not getting.
It doesn't look that good.
Yeah. But you're gonna not only give good information, but make it look beautiful, and edit it well too. You're gonna see a nice video. So all three of those combined, so you're working on a geese harvesting video right now, and a guanciale video is coming up the pike. And so Brandon releases those one a month, basically. If something's really long, it might be like one video for every 2 months, but that's like if they're like a half hour, 25 minutes long.
Yeah.
But usually it's a nice 10, 15, 18-minute video every month on a particular topic, and you kind of cover it. really thoroughly. But in the last year, I was putting together, you've done a video on the home brooder. So you were just talking about muscovies, like, you know, getting muscovies to do your brooding for you.
Right. Rather than a machine.
Right. The home eggery. So we really have our egg situation dialed.
Yeah.
With the exception that the ducks are now like in molt or something right now.
They did. Yeah.
Yeah. But you talk about
But
that.
that's after 2.5 years.
Yeah. So we were getting good eggs.
I let them molt this time.
So Brandon covers exactly how we made that happen.
Yeah.
2.5 years uninterrupted egg production.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
With laying ducks.
With one like generation of ducks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talk about emulsified sausage, and that was a really well done video.
Oh, thanks.
You talk about the virtue of sausage that is emulsified. Like, I would never have known, but I'm totally on board now, and it works for our home economy too.
It does.
The philosophy and mechanics of killing and eating goat kids.
So
that's a whole thing. Kind of like foie gras. Like,
yeah, scalding and dehairing goat kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's definitely new ground for American viewers. You know, like if you come from, you know, an old European family that goes generations back on the same piece of land. Okay, so you probably have been there, done that. But for most of us newbie homesteaders, it's unique.
That have too many goats?
There you go. I think there's a lot of people in that boat.
That happens.
Yeah. You talk about pithing ducks as opposed to like cutting their necks. That has a culinary. All of these is like you're marrying the slaughter methodology to the culinary end of things in all of these, and that's really cool.
Gee, I'm glad that came across.
Yeah, it does.
Thanks.
It does.
That's what I'm trying to do.
You talk about lamb tartare. That was a really good video. I mean, and yeah, a lot of these things you don't find very often. You find them on like, I don't know, like Andrew Zimmern, or like where he's going to other countries and seeing the weird things that other people are doing. And but I mean, not to, he doesn't insult people. Like he's legitimately interested in their quite delicious foods, but they're different. Like we kind of get squeamish over here in America, but you're kind of going into that territory a little bit. You talk about comparing curing environments. You know, using our controlled chamber there with the salami hanging in it versus ambient room temperatures here in the shop. And that's just, those are just the videos that are in there from this past year.
Okay.
But there's several years prior. And you also have in there, I counted, 40 Facebook Live
Is that how many we've done? Okay.
40. Yeah, it's been 40 months since since we opened up the membership.
Okay, cool.
And I gotta say, like, they're kind of, it's almost like a podcast, but it's just you.
Right.
And you're just rapid fire answering questions, you know.
It's fun to hang out. It's a way we can hang out with the members.
Yeah.
On Facebook.
Yeah. That's right.
1 hour once a month.
You talk about...
It's happening tomorrow, in fact.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
You bring up books that you're reading and kind of new information that you are uptaking, and there's 40 of those on the membership, and they're only there too.
Yeah.
So anyway, the membership is really hopping, I would say, and they make great Christmas presents. We're coming up on Christmas pretty soon, so I would say it's a really relevant product right now too.
Yeah.
When the food system is, as you said, showing its fragility, and people are just hungry for this knowledge. And there's a lot there.
Yeah.
So the membership is awesome. I also wanted to mention there's one more spot left in our classes that are coming up in January. And those are like the membership, like...
Incarnated. So we just do it all. Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. And you get to meet people that will also end up being invited onto the Facebook table,
right?
Meatsmith table page, and we're going to be adding other classes too for the like May June time frame.
Yeah,
it's for holiday purchasing as well.
I can raise more pigs now.
That's right.
Because I have a tractor.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can increase. We're going to increase the frequency of class offerings.
Yeah. So anyway, we had a class in August. That was a unique thing. Normally we have them in May and then December, but we had one right in the middle of summer, and it went really well.
Yeah, it was great.
So people from all over the country, it was good.
Yeah, it's a good class.
Yeah.
This conversation will be continued in a forthcoming Part 2 episode. Thanks for listening, and peace be with you.